Welcome to the Scale Model World Podcast.
Welcome to the Scale Model Mel podcast with your co-hosts, Dave Howell of Terrain Models and Wayne Green of the World of Wayne.
Hello, everybody.
Well, this podcast is for all model makers, whether you build partworks, plastic kits, every kind of model making in between. This podcast is absolutely for you. If you've got any questions about model making, we'd love to hear from you. So please do reach out to Wayne or I, and we'll do our very best to answer your questions in a future episode. You can find our email addresses on Wayne's channel, and of course, all over my store and also my YouTube channel as well. So please do get in touch if you have a burning question. We've got an incredible lineup of guests coming up over the next few episodes. Really, right across the model making community, from allied fields that we think will give a fascinating insight into our hobby. So don't forget to hit the bell icon and also subscribe if you don't want to miss any future episodes. Now, what we always kick off with is what we've been doing since the last one. And I think you've been quite busy. I believe you've been the father of the bride. You're also talking to me from a brand new room, which you've developed. And, a few other things have been going on in between. Lots and lots of jollies to Europe, I believe.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, it starts with Telford. Obviously, we had Telford. So I saw you at Telford as well. And my American friends, Phil Siegel from Spruehurst and Lou Dalmaso came over, Aztec Dummy. And we had a great time. We went to Port Merion. We actually stayed at Telford this time for 2 days, so I got to see the whole show, and I got to see the competition room. Absolutely brilliant. I'm sure we'll talk about that in a second.
Yes,
the week after that, then I went to Barcelona because we've got a couple of new releases on the horizon, which namely is the Iron Spider-Man from Fan Home, and the other one from Fan Home is Darth Vader.
And do they look as good as they appear to look on video? I mean, you were up there and close to them. So, what do you think?
The Iron Spider looks amazing, but I still, second time, haven't seen Darth Vader. Oh. Now, what happened is I went to New York Comic Con to see Darth Vader, but unfortunately it was broken, so they couldn't display it. Fan Home got it shipped back, from what I understand, for Barcelona for this event that we were going to, and it never arrived. No one knows what's happened to it. So they had a poster. And they had packs 1 and 2, so we could see what it looks like. But
they had a poster.
Haven't seen it, but I have seen the publicity shots that they took about it. They haven't even got a prototype now, and it looks amazing model. So what we've got that being released by Fan Home. We've got the Dalek coming out for Hachette Partworks.
Indeed.
Obviously, the Agora Models have announced the USS Constitution, and at Telford you saw that they had the old Willys Jeep, which looked pretty cool as well. So there's a lot of builds on the horizon. And then after that, obviously, you said that my daughter got married. And then I made a retro room because my son's moved out. So.
Yes, as you do. Yes. As soon as you left, hey, what can you do with that space? I'm sure there was
I think I moved in far too quick. That's what Mrs. Wayne says. She said I should have be a bit more tactful and not so eager. Apparently, I was walking in here with tape measures while he was still here.
Yeah, dear. That's not very good at all. Or if it was here, it would be a case of, well, I could probably use that for something for me as well. So we'll have a small argument about who gets the spare room. So you were quite good to sort of preempt that, and you won. So you're
already in here.
And nothing is going to get you out.
What about yourself? What have you been up to?
It's been. I've been doing a great deal of model making recently. Lots and lots of stuff on the store to do. Work's been very, very busy. Obviously, the run up to Scale Model, well, we were super busy trying to get all that organised. It's been up and down with trying to do stuff. Most of my builds are still ongoing. I have a huge pile of boxes in my workshop, which I'm going to work through over Christmas. That's the plan. Going to get all my part works up to date probably next week. And then my plan is to basically sit down with. I'm up to stage 47 of Knight Rider.
Wow!
So I'm going to complete Knight Rider over Christmas, which is what my plan was last Christmas. And I got to stage 46 or 47, and there was a part missing. From the whole thing, and it took them, I kid you not, 3 months or so to get me the spare part. So that completely kiboshed my plans for last Christmas. So I thought, okay, we'll try again this Christmas. So fingers crossed I don't come to part whatever and there's a part missing again. Because I want to really get Knight Rider finished, because it's been hanging around for like a couple of years, and it's just not finished yet. I want to get that done. So that is my plan for the Christmas holidays is part work heaven. And I've got a couple of kits I'm doing. I'm doing the 124 scale Ecto 1 at the moment.
Yeah.
From I think it's the AMD kit. But I've just finished sorting out all the lighting. So it's going to look like a Christmas tree when it's finished. Lots of lighting, and also you hit the remote and it plays the theme tune as well.
Oh, wow.
That's the plan. It was supposed to be ready for today because my local. In fact, we're recording this on December the 11th, just so you get some context. And my local IPMS is meets tonight, and of course it's competition night tonight.
Wow.
Now we're sort of we sort of take food and have a bit of a party. But the actor was supposed to be for the Christmas competition, which is tonight, and it's not ready. So that's a bit disappointing. But it is what it is. It's just time, isn't it? To try and get all of this going. So anyway, scale model world. So was it the sort of sensory overload you were expecting?
No, it was. For 2 days rather than just spend 3 hours there. I got to visit everything, and I got to actually talk to some of the IPMS groups that are there as well. I don't think it was as busy this year. I have to say, I don't think it was as busy this year as it was last year. But you did tell me that last year was an anniversary year, wasn't it?
That's right, 60th. And that's exactly what I thought. I thought, 60th last year, bonkers. It'll drop off a little bit this year. Although walking around, for me, it kind of, I mean, because I was a dealer, so I didn't see the queues. So I didn't get really a sense of if the room was as full as it used. I didn't get much chance to sort of wander around. But that's what I thought. I thought, is it going to be quieter? But we won't know that until they publish the official figures from IPMS, which they do.
But it was great, and it was great to see a lot more sci-fi models there this year, and especially in that competition room. I'm glad that you sponsored that trophy because I think that made a difference. What won? It was the alien dropship, wasn't it?
It was Foundation's FTL, the civilian ship. Right, built by let me get his, sorry Yang if I get your name wrong. I think it's Changhui Yang.
That's right.
I think that's how you pronounce it.
Now that's the ship. That's the ship that's actually touring the world, because that was at Wonderfest as well.
Indeed,
that ship was.
Indeed.
So I've seen that. I had seen that before, but it's an amazing model. Absolutely amazing model.
Hundreds and hundreds of 3D printed parts, electrics, just an amazing, I thought, an achievement. I'm hopefully going to pin down the creator for a proper interview. So do keep an eye on my YouTube channel. I'll hopefully be coming fairly soon. Once he's finished his trek across the world. But frankly, if you can put something that together, you want to show it off. I mean, you really do, don't you? I mean, absolutely amazing. Absolute worthy winner. But yes, absolutely more sci-fi. I thought the quality was fantastic. I think the couple of winners in that category, I believe, was 2001, the pod. I think that's that one, and I believe. Was it the alien dropship ectoskeleton thing, whatever that's called? I think that also won as well. So it was nice to see a couple of three sci-fi models making it through to actually competition wins.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. Plus, I actually come out with some tool making stuff this year as well. So especially things like sanding sticks. I got myself a £50 pair of sprue cutters. Can you believe it? So, but it better last, because the other expensive pair I had, stupid me, went for a wire in them, and obviously sprue cutters aren't going to face up any sort of wire, so that's why I need to replace them. But I have stocked up on all of my itinerary in the workshop now, so I want for nothing.
Well, it's a great place to do that, of course. The amount of dealers across all types, wherever you're looking for. It's not just kits, but if you're looking for tools, etc. I saw God Hand had a massive stall on one end, which is very impressive. They came over, but I believe a lot of the overseas dealers, they're coming back now. I think they're starting to come back in larger numbers. So if you are looking for something quite specific, chances are it would be at Scale Model World. So if you haven't been, we do encourage you to sort of show up every year and accost us if you do see us for a chat. I'll definitely be sort of chained to my usual space at my bench on my desk.
Do you always have that same hall? So you're always in that hall?
Last couple of years, yes. I think what they tend to do is to say, well, if everyone wants to come again, we start with the same floor plan as last year. So if you want the same slot, you should be fine.
Gotcha.
So most people tend to do that on a yearly basis. A lot of the big guys always have the same space. Wonderland Models, for instance, they always have that corner That's always theirs. I think Airfix always has the same space against that back wall in Hall 1. They always have that space, and so on. I think for me, it's a case of I can have that space until I outgrow it, and if I need more space, then I won't be able to be in that space anymore. There's only space for one table there. So it's a case of if the store grows, then it'll be obviously more tables. They'll probably shift me to somewhere else.
That just sounded like my whole life at the moment. Hence why I moved into the retro room.
Moving.
Where did I keep all of this stuff previously? You see what I mean?
Where do you keep it?
You need to branch out.
I kid you not. I rent a separate garage just to put stuff in, which is crazy. It's pile high, literally floor to ceiling, with crate upon crate of stuff.
Wow.
Just because there's no room here. We've filled our garage. Spare room's full as well. The attic is bursting, so we had to just go and rent another space. And there was a garage up for grabs, so we thought that'll do very nicely. Yeah. So it's just one of those. But yeah, Scam Model World, fantastic, absolutely wonderful. I thought that was a great event. Now, news-wise, I mean, I've been looking at what I guess Christmas presents for me. What would I quite like? In my sort of search across the internet for interesting stuff to maybe get. I mean, one of my quests when I got back into model making was to try and do, I guess, one of every kind of subject. So I'm now looking at aero. What would I like? And I quite fancy the Airfix 148 Bristol Bulldog Mark II. That's just come out, and I quite fancy that. So that may sort of fulfil that ambition. But again, a couple of really nice cars again, Lancia Delta. I really quite fancy that if I can stretch to the cash, because you're then cheap. 1/12 scale, massive thing, hugely detailed, but also quite expensive, which I quite like. And I think someone also, this one model I think you might know from Poker, the 1/8 scale Lotus. I don't know if you've seen that, the 72D from the 1972 Grand Prix. Looks amazing.
That is a lovely model. Yeah, I've seen that model, definitely.
Absolutely.
But I mean, for myself, I bought up in the retro room now. I've got my resin printer over here now. I bought that up because I bought the files for the Ulysses 31 ship. I'm trying to think what it was called. The Odyssey. So I'm going to be building that. I don't know what size I can get away with. I'd like it big, but because I'm going to resin print it, it's going to be limited to what I can do. It hasn't got a massive build plate, but I'm interested to do that and light it up because the only thing that I've got in here now that I 3D printed is Vincent, and downstairs I've got my Thunder Road from Explorers. That's the only 3D printed stuff I've got now in the house. So I need to change that, and I want to experiment with this water washable resin. I purposely bought a different vat tray and everything now, so everything is geared up to have water washable resin. Now I've heard the details exactly the same. I've heard it can be a little bit more brittle, but
so I'm told.
But we'll have to see. That's it's one of these things that I'm going to have to do a test kitchen on and see how it works.
Well, 3D printing is arriving this Christmas for me. Last week I literally unboxed my first one. I've gone with the Hay Gears, the Reflex. So I've got their new RS. So it's in there. I've got their sort of weird shaky wash station, that kind of thing. So that is in there waiting. So oddly enough, I'm now sitting here thinking, what do I want to print first? And that's a very good question.
Everyone prints Benchy first. You've got to print the little ship so you can figure out how it actually works.
So what we've been doing is looking at all the was it Thingiverse or whatever it's called. I've been downloading as many different kinds of stuff. So like a 1/35 scale figure. That's on the build plate. A little Hello Kitty is on the build plate. And anything else I can think of, just to say, okay, for the first print, I can fill the build plate. It's quite large with as many different kinds of things as possible. Get it printed and see what happens. Because I have zero experience of these things. It's going to be a very interesting experience. I'll kick it off and then close the garage because it's in my garage, and then come back tomorrow. And then what's it going to be like? Is it there literally finished, or is it? What does it fail? I don't know.
Well, if it fails, it's the problem with these resin printers is if it fails, the cleanup is crazy. You have to do a vat clean out. You just get yourself in a right old mess. That's why I'm praying that they don't fail. That's why my resin printer has a camera in it. So if it's at the beginning of failing, I can stop it. So.
Right. Yeah, people have told me that. Don't you just getting kitted out because man, it's messy. I'm waiting for that experience. Of course, I have my lab coat and protective goggles at the ready, just to keep it on, because I said get a lab coat, get some goggles. It's going to go everywhere, guaranteed. So I think I'm prepared. I'm ready to hit the print button. I think I've got one more space on the build plate to fill. I'll do that probably tomorrow or the day after. So it could be this weekend is the beginning of the 3D adventure.
Wow,
so we'll kind of see.
Well, good luck.
Anyway, yes, fingers crossed. Excuse me. Now, a couple of questions have come in. This one's from Craig. Now, he asks common mistakes. He said, "What are the most common mistakes new model makers make, and how can they be avoided?" That's an interesting one.
Following my videos.
Common mistakes. Well, I have a very long list of common mistakes.
Common mistakes for me, and I miss. I'm one of these people that I learn from pictures. So basically, I will build things just by looking at the pictures. I never ever read the instructions underneath. I just look at the pictures and see how it's meant to go. More often than not, that's why sometimes I'm doing things wrong, because the instructions specifically tell you not to do something, which means I do it. And because of that, it's a rushing thing. I want to get to that point, and because I rush, then things when things go out of order, that's when the problems start. You're knocking things on the carpet, monster. You're never going to find them again and stuff like that. It's like a cascade. But I think that not to rush. And I'm not. I'm the sort of person that, and we all are in this generation now. It's the must-have now sort of generation that we want to rush. But I do think you do need to slow yourself down now and again.
Yeah, I think so. If we're talking part worky, then yes, my most common mistake is literally missing a stage. How on earth I do that? I'm looking at instructions, I go stage 1, and I'm fiddling with stage 4. How I missed stage 2 and 3? It's there in front of me, and I missed it. And then I wonder why when I get to, I don't know, stage 56, there's something on backwards because I missed that stage. So I think time, take a step back, double check everything before you move on with particularly partworks. You can backtrack, but that is so time consuming. To go back and take stuff to bits. So take your time and try and get it right. I think the first time, read the instructions 5 times before you get there, because I'm a bit of a reader. I do everything in detail, and I still miss a stage, which is so. I don't know. It's just one of those things. Maybe I'm just blind to something, or maybe I want to just, as you say, jump ahead too quickly. Maybe that's it. I think with plastic kits, common mistakes are, I think for me, it's rushing it too quickly. Absolutely, it's take your time, and don't go mad with the glue. You don't need a lot. You don't need a lot of this stuff.
Definitely minimal amount of glue, and also make sure you're using the right tools as well. Because sometimes if you're just like you need to pry a part off, so you my tweezers are here, I'll use that, and you end up bending your tweezers. It's okay.
No, right tool for the right job. Absolutely. And you don't need the many. I think we may have touched on that already in a previous one. The minimal tools. But minimal tool set. I think that's absolutely right as well. Right tool for the right job. That kind of thing. But take your time. Get yourself a good set of tools together. I know you spent quite a lot of money on some nippers at Scale Model World, but there you go. But it's sky's the limit, of course, in this hobby. But you don't have to spend a lot of money to get a decent set of tools together. Now, interestingly, the next question is kind of connected. This one's from Andrew. Now, he asks about maintaining focus and patience. That's an interesting one as well. How do you do that? Maybe over a long period. How do you, particularly with complex kits? How is there a technique for for maintaining patience?
I don't really get that, and the reason I don't get that is because I'm always doing a different model every day. If I wasn't and I was working on the same model, then you're going to get burnout, and if you get burnout, you lose interest in the model, and then again. You got the rushing thing. You just want to get it finished, sort of thing. I'm not very good at getting models in one go and then doing them because, again, the way my mind works, I've got to get this finished. And I end up starting lovely and smoothly, and then it just falls off the table because I'm trying to rush it. Now, I learnt my lesson with things like the Star Trek refit. that I was doing, the 1350 refit. I've done the saucer.
Indeed.
That was a year and a half ago. I haven't touched the back section yet. If I was to do that in one go, I think I would have just burnt out. But at least I've got that to do, and I haven't started it yet.
Yes.
But the LaFerrari, everyone's going to ask me about the LaFerrari as well. I've only got 4 stages left to do on the whole build. But at the moment, I'm at a stage where I just think it's not going to continue if I start now. So that's why I'm putting it off at the moment.
Yes,
definitely. You need to know when to call it a day and just put it down and then come back to it.
Absolutely. I've had lots of conversations about that. It's this kit's doing my head in. Well, put it aside. Yeah, literally, just put it aside. Or if it is just giving you grief, why are you building it? Stop, do something else. That kind of thing. But that's what I do. It's you can have a session, however long you feel a session should be. But yeah, if you're starting to make silly mistakes or whatever it is, that's probably the time to call it quits and come back. Or if you can't quite get something right, it's getting you frustrated. Stop, go away, watch some telly, come back tomorrow. You'll find if you come back, fresh set of eyes, you're not as sort of heightened. You've calmed down, etc., and you'll find it flies together without any problems at all. That's what I find. It kind of depends what it is. I mean, the last time I was probably frustrated was it was several months ago now. It was the spoked wheels for DB5. Yeah, got to the 4th one. Thank God. Yeah, I mean they look amazing, but my life are they fiddly. And by the time I got to number 4, because I think I did one a week for 4 weeks. By the time I got to the end, I kind of lost the will to live, really, because they were so complicated. They look amazing, but would I do another one? I'd like to.
I found doing those spokes. I found it easier doing them as you went on. So much so that
yes, absolutely,
I've been saving them up, and I just do them all in one go. Then
God, I couldn't do that. No. I couldn't do that at all. First one was an absolute nightmare until I hit on a bit of a technique, because I couldn't get everything to stay in place. Put the next spoke in and everything moved.
Yeah,
I thought that's not gonna fly. So the second one, when I put a spoke in, I just dabbed a little bit of UV resin on it, whacked it with a torch, keeps the spoke in place, and it's transparent, so you can't see it.
Yeah.
Then put the next one in. So by the time I got to tie number 4, I think 20 minutes done. Easy. So again, that's just practice. This is absolutely just practice. That's just the way it is. But patience, it's just horses for courses. If you're finding you're frustrated, give it a rest. Come back. Yeah, that kind of thing. It's that kind of, how long is a session? Well, that's a very good question. I don't know. If I was retired, would I do it all day? I don't know. Could I do model making for 16 hours a day? I don't know. I'd like to try. But
I'm a morning person. I find my brain's more active in the morning, so I do all my work in the morning, and then I just chill out in the afternoon. So
absolutely. I think that's absolutely right. Now, the third question has come from this one's from another Andrew, oddly enough, and this one is about a community. Oddly enough, how should beginners get involved with scale model as a community? Well, the obvious thing for me, of course, is IPMS. Go to the IPMS website, and you'll be able to see all of the IPMS groups, and hopefully there's one in your area, or at least one that you can travel to with reasonable time and cost to get.
Funny you should say that, because I picked up. I got chatting with the IPMS Rutland guys, because around here we haven't got an IPMS group that's close. I've got Peterborough, I've got Brampton Hut, which is about a 45-minute drive away, and then 45 minutes north I've got Rutland. Now, Rutland's more picturesque than Brampton. So I thought, I'd rather go to Rutland then. So again, it was just a case of going online to see their website, see when they do their meetings, which is every 3rd Tuesday. So I think it's something like that. Thursday, I can't remember. And just pop along. But no, everywhere. I mean, it's great to meet people with like-minded hobbies. Also interact with people, not just the people. Like if you're watching a YouTube channel, I'm happy to answer questions and stuff like that. But it is fun to watch people interacting with each other, because that's how people get to know you.
Yes,
and you get a rapport on the channel. And if you've watched my channel long enough, I know a lot of people by first name terms now. So when the live streams are on, I'm calling them by their first names. And that's only because of memory for the communications that we've had in the past.
Absolutely. I think it's one of those. It's a IPMS group if you've got one. But yeah, try and go to as many IPMS shows. A lot of IPMS groups put on shows. I'll be at Bolton. I think it's next month in January. Miss last year because of the weather. But I'm going to try and get to that because apparently Bolton is a very good show. But that's put on by the IPMS. So go along. Obviously Scale Model World as well if you are not too far away. But it's that thing, about even if you can't do that physically online, but don't just passively watch our videos. Do get in touch. Have a conversation. I think that's what's absolutely important. Of course, do contact us about this podcast, and we'll try and have obviously answer any questions and have maybe an interaction at some point. I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll do some kind of maybe a live one at some point in the future. That would be that'd be an interesting exercise.
If you are looking to take the detail and accuracy of your models to the next level, Mike Lane Mods has a range of mods and accessories to choose from. Mike is a builder himself. Subscribing to the original Eagle Moss build of the DeLorean, Mike could instantly see where improvements could be made. As other builders started to ask Mike to make the mods for their models, Mike Lane's Mods was born. Mike's creativity, attention to detail and enthusiasm for big scale modelling means each mod is carefully researched and then produced by hand so you can be sure that each mod is perfect. Created with a range of high quality materials, Mike's mods often replace or add essential details to each model he supports across his growing range. Whether you want screen accurate carpets for your DeLorean, a motorised roof box for the Ecto-1 or a fully working electronic dashboard for your K2000 kit, Mike has a mod for your model. Find out how you can enhance your models with Mike's latest mods by visiting MikeLaneMods.com.
Now, we've come to the point in the episode where we welcome our special guest. Today, as guest, is none other than Mel Bose, the terrain artist, author, and educator. You may know from his fantastic YouTube channel, the Terrain Tutor. Welcome, Mel.
Hi, Mel.
Hello there, gents.
Well, thanks for joining us, Mel. I'm sure many people listening to this probably know you from your YouTube channel. I'm sure they absolutely do, and also your live streams, which I was watching quite recently. And I think you lost your voice. You were talking about you were at an event, I think, and you spoken so much that your voice had just given up the ghost.
I think I was either just or brick.
Yeah, just in time for the next live stream, which is not very good, is it?
No,
you
not
can't
at all.
Speak.
I mean,
there you go.
Shows really do it for me. I mean, with filming the tables as well, I worked out at one salute, I did 14 miles in the day.
Wow.
Yeah, which when factored, I'd just come back from Adepticon in the US and I'd done something like 16 miles or 21 miles there. Yeah. It's like I was back in the bloody army.
Well, that's right. Yes, I think we're all the same. Excuse me. When I do that, I film at events I go to, but they're on a really small scale. I mean, tiny. It's nothing like that. I think I was at a gaming event a few months ago, and that was massive. Something at the NEC. I can't remember what it was. But yeah, you just don't think. The actual number of miles you do. I really should stick it on my watch and just see what the number of steps I do around these things.
You'd be surprised, but you feel it the next day.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. Well, I suppose we know you, Mel, from your YouTube channel and obviously other things. But I guess for anyone that doesn't, I guess the first I think we ought to kick off with maybe a bit of history. Who's Mel, and where did the Terrain Tutor come from?
Ooh, right, okay. Who is Mel? Mel's just a hobbyist. Mel is someone who's never worked in the wargaming or hobby or scale model industry, has no industry training, no industry ties, and has somehow become a pillar of the community, which is quite bizarre, but, I've been thrust up by my peers, and here I am.
Yeah.
I often wonder, what am I doing at these great heights? And for God's sake, don't fall. You know what I mean? But it basically comes from a passion for terrain. Yeah. As a young lad, I lived in North Wales. My mother was a single mother, and she had a craft shop. Yeah, where we made all sorts of crafts, knitting, or embroidery.
There's the link. Yeah.
You gentlemen are old enough to remember the wire trees with gems hanging off them. Indeed. You wouldn't believe how many of those I made in primary school. But we used to make crafting. Now, obviously, she was a single mother. We lived on Anglesey, which meant we had the holiday season where the town would visit and all my friends would suddenly get summer jobs, including me, working in my mother's craft shop. Yeah, which basically meant I spent all my summers, all my sort of time off growing up in a craft shop. And the craft shop had a small supply of like railway material, the old Jarvis Scenics.
Yeah.
Really going back, and some Hornby stuff, really early doors stuff. And the old railway guys used to come in, and I used to play with like the little green soldiers, army men. And we used to be next door to a newsagent who had a massive supply of Airfix kits. Yeah. And so, my mum got on with him. He'd throw me a tank kit every so often. You know what I mean? And we'd have files and glues and stuff in there. So Melvin would just potter away doing his hobby. And the old guys would come in and teach me how to make terrain and make dioramas. And so that sort of stuck with me for a long while. And then when I was 15, we actually moved back to England, and I discovered White Dwarf. It just hadn't existed. Yeah. And I'm opening it up, and it's like, ooh, there's rules. There's actually rules, because up until this, I've been firing elastic bands between tanks as my war game.
I used to roll marbles against mine.
You came up with the mechanics. You wanted the game. Yeah, exactly.
Dice, that kind of thing. I used to set up, spent hours setting up those boxes of 30 soldiers. I used to reenact certain sort of battles, or my favourite was Waterloo, so I set all the Waterloo stuff up, and then used marbles as cannonballs.
Well, the interesting thing was, is I picked up, I think it was one of the early issues of White Dwarf. It was 124 or 125, around about that mark. I think it's 124. But on the back page, they got some models, but they got some terrain behind it. Now, 15-year-old me looked at it and went, I can do better than that. And just an interest in terrain developed. Now, I hobbied from 15 till probably about 19. Where, service took over and, carried on. Then I came back into the hobby probably about in my late 20s. I'd come out of the army. I was working as a physio. I had ended up working in online medical supplies for an American company, basically like a medical rep trying to sell physio gear, American physio gear to British physio departments. And I hated it because it was just so corporate and, so money focused, and it was like not about, and they were having me sell crap, you know what I mean? That was no good. And it's like, no, this is not what I do. I didn't get 4 A's to go to physiotherapy school, you know what I mean? To do this. Especially on the basis that I did it in the army. I went from being a combat medic to being a physio. So, it's like, oh, no. And put me through a lot of stress. And I picked up the hobby again. I accidentally found some models and some paints and everything in a little box I'd obviously put together to be like a travel box. And I opened it up and it was just, this is everything I need to paint this squad. Brushes, paint, models. Let's do it. And then way too much money spent in Games Workshop a year later. I've got terrain and everything. And that's where it went from. And I started doing a blog. I started doing Imperial Guard. I started doing a blog called Corbania Prime. And I started doing tutorials on it. And I decided, one of the things I was sort of upset about was within wargaming, because of the release of Games Workshop Plastic Terrain, when I was looking on the blog sphere, every gaming table was a flat table with Warhammer. There were no hills, there was no terrain, there was no water. And it was like, just a minute. Even White Dwarf used to be full of it, but since they went for the plastic kits, they dropped the modelling side. Buy your terrain, don't make it. Which is, they're a business. I completely understand that, and I'm part of the Warhammer community. I promote it, but it was like the whole community had gone, this is our easy fix for terrain, and it's like, we're all playing in cities, the same city, with no extra detail. And it was something that bugbeared me, so I got an interest in. I'd like to share the old techniques, because I learned so much, growing up in a craft shop and that sort of stuff. And then early doors, being, because I started like 10 years before they made plastic terrain, so every White Dwarf was full of terrain articles.
What time frame are we talking about now?
So you were back in. So you're talking in 1990.
1990. So what? You were back in You were back in mid 20s. You returned to it.
Yeah, late 20s. So I'd probably say 15 to that would be 90. Yeah, just after the watch, not long after the millennium, a few years after the millennium. Strange, we still use that as a reference.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, of course, these days it's post and pre-COVID.
Yeah, that's a new one.
What were you do? What the
I'm
hell?
not that old yet. It's still, we're all relevant, but that will get there eventually. But no, what's it? And then I ended up going into like corporate sales and marketing. Ended up having a breakdown, and was rotting on a sofa on antidepressants and everything. And my ex-wife at the time, came up to me and said, "This isn't my Mel. This isn't you. You've always been a doer. Do something at least." You know what I mean? I just said, well, I'll have a go at doing the terrain and blog. That always, I always enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And I set up a little YouTube channel just to share my hobby. And it just went straight stratosphere. And I don't know why. I'm at quite a low at the minute because I've had my illness and that sort of stuff. My father passed away not long ago and that sort of stuff. So I've had some struggles and it's growing back up. But even to this day, I still don't know why I've ended up where I am.
So how long ago did you create your YouTube channel then?
10 years.
10 years. Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
And did you find any increase in that during the pandemic? Because a lot of people did turn to gaming and stuff.
The problem was with the pandemic that if I'd have carried on doing YouTube normally, I'd probably have 1 million subscribers by now.
Yeah.
But actually, during the pandemic, I actually separated from my ex-wife. It was the first time that I'd actually been alone in my life, and I had a mental breakdown as well. Yeah, and it's taken a couple of years to get over that. So that wonderful peak growing period, I disappeared off YouTube. So completely, the worst thing I could have done, when all the other channels exploded. And I was like, no, I'm curled up in a ball in a dark room. And, I'm on the local psych unit and that sort of thing getting fixed. Yeah. And it's only been recently that I've actually really returned and properly sorted myself out. But, I mean, I'm already back and things are already growing again. Wow.
Well, I think it was just fortuitous you came back into it. I think the reason for the first growth was what you said earlier, that people looked at what was available and everything had gone to plastic bases, no real creativity anymore. And everyone said, well, that's okay, but what if I want to do something different? How do I do that? Can anybody teach me? Well, yes, you can. Mel's been doing this for decades, frankly. Yep. And I think that's where the growth came from. People were looking for, I guess, to get back to what it used to be like, where you start to be a bit more creative, that kind of thing. As you say, I understand if you need to do this stuff very, very quickly and to build large armies, it's a great way of doing that. But if you want a bit of creativity, how do you learn the skills? Yeah, and I think that's where YouTube always steps in. That there'll be someone out there who will be able to teach you at least the basics, and then off you go. And I think that's why Terrain Tutor was kind of embraced by, I guess, what you would call the next wave of.
I see what you're saying. I mean, I've often looked at it and thought at the start, I mean, there were people who, there was Viv from Rubbishing and Viv. It was Mike from Terranscapes, God bless him. What you call it? There was Terrainaholic. There was Carl Olympian, and I miss him. He was great. Yeah, he was Otto from The Simpsons. Proper, he drove the school bus. He was a stoner. But he was the stories he used to tell when he was making his terrain. If you ever want to laugh, go and look up the Carl Olympian. His videos are still there. Best terrain videos. You'll have a wonderful evening listening to his stories. I mean, the guy was banned from the local town except for the petrol station because him and his brother had the contract for the school bus and they needed him to drive the kids to school. So it's like, you're banned from town, but here, take our kids to school.
Wow.
Yeah, but when it comes to the actual Terrain Tutor, I often think that it started off like, I was showing the skills. But I think it's different now. I think the reason I get a lot of attention is because I'm so relaxed about terrain. I quite happily show my screw-ups and stuff like that. Terrain's done this thing which I'm not going to diss my fellow terrain makers, but they've gone down the same sort of path that we went down with miniatures, which is this ultimate excellent perfection thing. That's what everyone's striving for online on the hobby, not in the hobby in general, but online. If you're a content producer, it's about amazement. and put, this, and it's like, I saw what that did to models, and it alienated people from painting.
Yeah.
Because they're never going to get that technique. And so with terrain, I've always sort of took this attitude of, I screw up all the time. I'm not going to hide it. I'm not going to use my editing skills, or I'm not going to use the fact that it's post-production, or I can position things, or I've got 9 pieces. And I'll choose the photos of the one piece that turned out brilliant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to show you when I screw up. And I'm either going to tell you I'm going to fix it, or I'm going to tell you I'm not going to bother because it doesn't really matter. And
that's actually the tagline of my channel, that I make mistakes so you don't have to.
Absolutely.
I learn from my screw ups. I think it's incredibly enabling. And so I think nowadays, and also I've got a sort of a background in sort of mental health and that sort of stuff. And I ramble. My videos are not short. YouTube is always like, this is the best time for the algorithm, and I'm fuck that. Right. Let's have a natter. Let's have I can go off on tangents, and I go off on rants about my local authority. I'm becoming the Carl Olympian. I'm realizing in age, I've done 10 years now. I've done my service. My YouTube service. I've earned my silver plaque. I've got nowhere chance of getting to gold, so I'm just gonna I'm gonna be Carl Olympian now. I'm just gonna make my terrain and tell weird stories about my life, which I've got plenty. So it's a good way to live.
Well, absolutely. I mean, oddly enough, Wayne and I were talking about it the other day. That whole idea of, I guess, how you access the hobby, because you're right. You look at YouTube, and often it's elite. It's the elite painters, builders, etc. And we've been contacted by a lot of people. So, well, can I even get any close to that? Is it worth me even trying? And the advice is always, well, you have to start somewhere. And these guys you aspire to, but our hobby, it's you're not born with these skills. You have to learn them. You have to. It's just learn by doing. So your first kit, or your first part work, or your first bit of terrain may not be great, but your 100th will be better than the first. And so on. So I think it's one of those. You have to be in the right sort of mindset. We always advise people to just have a go. Maybe don't get the most complicated kit there is on the marketplace. Don't start with that. Start with something a little bit simpler.
I always recommend CD bases. I call it CD Terrain. It's in my Let's Make playlist. But just a simple CD, Daz putty, some rocks, bit of a twig, stick it on, add some green to it, make it a little scene. You know what I mean? Put some minis on it. That's your basics. You know what I mean? But I've always gone for this sort of I can produce some quite nice pieces. If I sit down, my Burma build, my personal projects, stuff like that, they are quite nice. But the main channel content I put out, it's all, I keep it simple. I want, my colors are simple, my techniques are simple, because it's about enabling people.
Now, at the top of this sort of introduction, we also mentioned you're an author as well, and you're also a big supporter of a certain charity, which we'd like to sort of speak about, Models for Heroes. There's a few. If you look into the internet, there's a lot of that stuff sort of around. So, what's your connection? So, did the authorship, did that come around? Did that something you made a conscious decision to do, or was it something that you sort of segued into?
You want the story? It's a good one.
How did that come about?
Okay, dead simple. The story for that is quite simple. Dave Taylor got me drunk. I'm not joking. We went down.
There are worse things.
2019. We went down to Salute, and I went down to do my Salute video. And when I go to Salute, because it's in London, I like staying over at the hotel. It's the only show that I'll stay over at the hotel beforehand. And it's a good chance because all the traders stay in the hotels, so it's a good chance to actually chat with the traders before they get to the show, because they're always too busy. So I get a chance to mingle, and I always stay in the Premier Inn next to the convention centre. Yeah, and I call it the Hotel de Sin because the bar is always full of the traders. Yeah, and you know who's going to be rough the next day because they're the ones who are at the end of the night who're still with me. Yeah, because I'm still going. I'm ex-forces, so it's we're doing it light, lads. But I went down and I walked in with my mate, Jace, and I just turned around and did what I normally do. And I said, has anyone got any seats for a lonely YouTuber and his mate? Yeah, and a few people turned around and raised their hands, and Dave was like, come over here, pulled a seat out, and I walked up and he goes, what are you drinking? Oh, vodka and Coke. Off he went. Yeah, now, a few drinks in, we were talking with the guy who wrote the Doctor Who game for Warlord. And we were having a chat about that. And then I think James M. Hewitt came up and we were having a chat with him. And then someone came over from Sarissa. We're having a chat. No, it's Rich from Sarissa came over. Then the lads from Wargame Illustrated come over and the drinks are flowing. Yeah, then it all turned into a bit of a blur. Then I woke up, on Saturday morning, ready for the show. And my mate turned around to me and goes, do you know that you agreed to do a book with Dave Taylor last night? And I was like, did I? I've always wanted to do a book. Right, we need to find him. Yeah, and the first thing I did is obviously we went down, got breakfast, headed in, got the press passes straight in, went straight up to, I think Dave was on the Warlord Illustrated stand because he used to be an editor for him. Yeah, he used to edit the Australian version or the Far East version. Yeah. So I went straight up to Dave and went, did we do a book? And he goes, yeah, we're doing that. And then later that afternoon, once Salute was finished, Dave jumped on a train up to Stoke to where I lived. And literally, I think that evening, he was in my house. Yeah, and we were literally talking over, right, this is what we'll do. This is how we'll do it. And that's where the book came from. Dave Taylor got me drunk. Best thing he ever did.
Wow.
Amazing. Now, Models for Heroes. That's been kind of been in my radar for several years. Great work that they do.
Outstanding charity.
It really is.
Charitable organisation. I have to be careful.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. That connection with with sort of model making and all the rest of it too. To what those guys do. What's your connection? Clearly, you have something obviously with the forces. But did that come onto your radar? Quite recently, or is that something that even you wanted to be involved with?
No. Actually, Models for Heroes came to me. What you call it? Pateron. Yeah, it was an online Discord convention during the pandemic. Right. And there was a mental health panel that I sat on because I've always done mental health advocacy work because of my background. One, I've got issues with mental health. Two, I'm a physiotherapist. So I've got a medical degree. I understand the actual physiology and I've always been interested in my own mental health. Yeah, so I've always used rather than hiding it, I'm quite vocal about demystifying mental health, especially the most common things, which SADS, stress, anxiety, and depression, which is just life, hard life. You know what I mean? Well, there's no it's not a psychiatric condition. Yeah. It's not dissociative identity disorder or schizophrenia or any of those sort of conditions. But they were on as well, and it was Malcolm, and they were on the panel as well, and he hit me up and contacted me, and it was sort of chatting, and the next thing it's like, would you be an ambassador for us? We'd love to take you on, and become a stakeholder, and I became the national ambassador. So my role with is very much awareness. It's about getting the logo in front of eyes, letting people see Models for Heroes. So I wear it everywhere, any functions, any shows or anything, I always wear it. Yeah, just so it's visible. I don't lead the group sessions or anything like that. We've got a massive team of wonderful volunteers, who are all trained up to lead like group modelling sessions, either online or in person. And a lot of those are ex-services in different ways, whether armed services or civilian services.
Indeed.
Yeah. We're slowly making it. We've done brilliantly with the armed forces. Yeah, we're doing okay with the fire services, but we're slowly making inroads in with the police service. But they're a very closed community, you know what I mean? Especially when it comes to mental health. So trying to get in there, we really need to recruit volunteers from within that environment that they already trust, and then get them set up their own thing because they don't really like group sessions. But with the sort of stuff they do, the police are quite private people anyway. So they're quite enclosed, even more than the other services. So, but it's one of our primary aims this year, to sort of push into that avenue. But we do phenomenal work, to be truthful.
What I wanted to ask you that precisely because I think we all know why we do the hobby, whatever we get out of it. But because you have obviously the medical background, you also the forces as well. What is it about the hobby then? Do you think is really beneficial? I like it just to get out of my headspace, just to be something to concentrate on. I'm only thinking about the next thing I'm going to stick on, or the next paint I'm going to put on, or whatever. And it's a fantastic release, isn't it? It's something different.
Let me reframe your situation and make you a different person. Right, you've served in the army for 15 years. Perhaps your marriage has broken up. You're single. Yeah, you've got mental health issues. You come out. The state has done a brilliant job of making sure you are looked after financially. Okay, you got no financial worries. You rent for your house is paid, your food's in, your bills are paid. Yeah, you've got a war pension. Yeah, but you're alone. You've not got your mates. You've not got your wife. You've got no reason to get up, and you've got mental health issues. Yeah, a simple modelling kit can be a reason for a soldier or a veteran to get up and do something because you have nothing to do. Now, here's something with modelling kits. You see, when you have depression or you have issues and you disconnect from life falls apart. Your friendships, they weather. Things you were working on, they break down. Model kit doesn't. A model kit will sit there exactly where it was, saying, yeah, I'm ready to go, buddy, whenever you are. Yeah, and a model kit has a completion point. It's not a painting, which can be open-ended. It's not a clay sculpture. Yeah, when the last piece is glued on by the instructions, yeah, it's built. You get a sense of completion. You get a dopamine kick. You remember what it's like to achieve something, to use skills. You've done it yourself. Yeah. So just a simple model kit. Now, remember, a lot of services, they always pick model kits that remind them of their own service. Navy guys, they're always after the ship they bloody sailed on. Yeah. I'm exactly the same. Yeah. My model kits, they match my service. First thing I did was a 432. Yeah. Right. End of. Yeah. Simple as.
Sure.
But it gives them a reason when they've got no reason, because they don't need to work. They're financially secure. None of their mates are around anymore. They're still serving. They're alone. And it gives them that little connection. Then you frog hop that and you go, hey, we've got groups. You can do it online. Come on, you can just jump on your laptop, you do your modelling and hang out with a loader. They jump on that. All of a sudden, okay, there's some civvies there, but there's always squaddies there. Hey, mate, you're all right, did it? What? Oh, yeah, blah, 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 blah. Back he goes going. 3 times a week, they've got a reason to get up. And, oi, you're looking a bit rough there. Shit shower shave, mate. Yeah. But clean it. Yeah, just because you're not going out. Then, guess what? Hey, did you know? And it's a little bit of a way. It's 8 miles away, but we've got a physical modding group, the Tri-Service Centre in Newcastle. Oh, why don't you go along there, mate? All right, I will. Yeah, I'll go along. No, it's all right. I know the bloke who runs it. He's good. Yeah. All of a sudden, they're going out. They're mixing. Boom. That's why modelling is important. Now, from a clinical point of view, tons of shit. To apologise, but literally, if you think about it from a terrain point of view, my point of view, I mean, I'm currently in the process of enrolling on a master's course to train as a clinical art therapist. So, and the NHS starting salary for a clinical art therapist is 46,000 a year. It's more than I could have earned than a physiotherapist, which is very surprising, considering how many bloody A's I had to get to do to Oswestry. Yeah, you know what I mean? But what you call it? It shows how important it is clinically. It is not an ancillary role. It's clearly a practitioner's role. Yeah, and as I've looked into it, it's phenomenal, because the other thing people don't actually realise is like the brain thinks in pictures and sounds. It doesn't think in words. So it likes anything to do with pictures and sounds. That's why we like music. That's why we like art. Yeah. it can stimulate the brain making models better than reading.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
I
fires
think
more neurons.
I think that's absolutely right.
Yeah,
Physiologically,
it's been absolutely proven. It fires more neurons because your brain has to convert the language into pictures to be able to convert it. So your brain can work smoother when you're model making than any other activity. Yeah, so
I think so. I think that's everyone's experience. For you, Wayne, I think it's the community that's kind of grown up around your channel. I think that's the major strength, isn't it? That it's a bunch of people that have a like have an interest in something similar.
Yeah.
But it's that connection. I know
it's how you broadcast yourself out. See, Mel, I'm very similar to you. I mean, I've been through 2 marriages, and I hit rock bottom. And the whole reason for creating my YouTube channel was because it was the only thing I could do. So I was making a YouTube channel with not expecting anyone to watch me at all.
Yeah.
And it's from there that I met people. And then I communicate people, and the amount of people on the net that you can actually network with, and then you realize someone's close, or you've got similarities with someone else, and it gets talking. Exactly, it just rings so true to what you just said. It's profound.
It is. It's a progressive. I mean, the lads the lads who actually did it. Malk's wife is Dr. Caroline Childs. Yeah, she's like a TV doctor of Good Morning Britain, I think. Yeah, but she does a lot of stuff. She's a nutritionist. But one of the things that she did early on, or they did early on, the board did, was they integrated in with the NHS and with Mind for the veterans and everything. So they actually became part of the treatment process. Rather than just being an ancillary, we do this, they got themselves engaged with every mental health, with regards to it. I mean,
indeed,
the bottom of the banner, it's ridiculous the amount of people we're associated with. It's like, I mean, why there isn't a royal crescent crown on it, I don't know. Because that's the only thing that's missing at the minute, royal patronage. Yeah. But it's the community and the kinship. That does it. That's what affects mental health. That's the biggest effect on mental health, being separated. Yeah, I notice it with my channel. My mental health always booms whenever I get back on my channel. I mean, it's irony. It's irony that the one thing that, I get my depression, I retreat from the channel, and the channel is actually the best thing for my depression.
Yeah.
I should stay on it.
Yeah.
And kick it through. But it's that duality of depression that messes with your head.
Do either of you get that thing where I do, because obviously life gets in the way, and I'll have certain things on the go, either plastic kits or partworks, and if I haven't done it for a while, I get either annoyed at myself for not doing it, and I get a little bit depressed that I haven't been able to go and do what releases all those lovely wonderful things in my head.
I get stressed, Dave. It stresses me, and then I get, and then that triggers anxiety. And then it's like a rolling thing, because if it starts pushing everything else back, and then something else doesn't get back, it just escalates. That's why I treat YouTube like a job now, because I make sure I work certain hours and I want to get something done, and I can't stop until I finish that little goal that I've done. And it keeps for me, it's routine. As long as I can keep myself in a routine, I'm fine.
Yeah, because I look back and go, I haven't done anything for a week. I went to get that done this week, and it's like, it ends up being that kind of thing. So for you, Mel, it sounds to me like you're kind of advocating. Basically, model making could be a prescription. Something that could absolutely be something that could help out a lot of people to I don't know, just to change their mindset and to be more positive, etc. So if you're looking for something and you have an interest, this could be it. Because I mean, both Wayne and I, massive breaks in model making before we came back to it. After decades, and that may be the experience for a lot of people listening to this. Did it when you were a kid, build a few Airfix kits. 40 years later, the model making community and the industry has changed so much. I couldn't believe when I got back into it. There'll be something for you, absolutely.
Most definitely. I mean, from my point of view, that's why I'm doing the MA in clinical art therapy. You know, because for me, I'm actually, whilst I'm going to keep my channel, doing terrain and that sort of stuff, I'm interested in exploring it as a therapeutic modality, actual model making. I mean, art is, you know, from what I've looked and all the source books and everything I'm learning, which isn't easy. You know, I've gone from being like, you know, the Crown's medical expert for muscles and bones to, right, I'm going into the brain now.
Right now.
Yeah, synapses. I left those alone with reflexes. Learn reflex action, and that's all we need as physios. But leave the thinking stuff to other people. You know,
well, there's that thing. There's always that thing. Everyone always say, "Oh, yeah, your brain's a muscle. You got to exercise it. You know, you have to do that."
It's fascinating, to be truthful. I'm going down into neurology. I wish I had learned more about it earlier, especially from the point of depression and anxiety. You know what I mean? Because normally, when you learn about the physiology and the pathology of those conditions, you know, it's very basic, but actually learning how the brain actually processes cognitive information and, you know, the sort of how it actually works, it's fascinating. But no, that's where I'm going with things. You know, I've done 10 years of showing terrain, and there's enough people who know how to make terrain. I've got a book, and so whilst I'm going to continue doing terrain making, over this next 10 years, I'm going to sort of explore the therapeutic side of it. So I'm not going to change my channel as such. But I don't know. I might start a side channel. I don't know. I don't know where this road may take me. All I know is there's a new path I want to wander along in the terrain world. So I know I still want to help people make their hobby and do that sort of thing. But there's more to it. There's more I can do with it.
Yeah. I always wonder what is sort of next for the hobby. A lot of people ask me that. If the hobby's being not sort of stuck, but you know, kits are kits, and they move on. They become more complex and more parts, etc., better made. There's the whole part work thing as well. You know, if plastic kits aren't for you, then maybe if you can hold a screwdriver and follow instructions, you can make something really very nice. You absolutely can. But often people ask me that, what's next for model making, and I don't really have an answer because it's sky's the limit. Really, I always flip it back to, well, what do you want it to be for you? What kind of models do you want to build? I mean, I'm a little bit of a magpie. I sort of jump around a lot. When I see a kit, I go, yeah, I'll have that. And I always say I kind of have a sort of bias towards maybe sci-fi, but actually I'm building more cars at the moment for some reason. Don't know why, but I'm building cars, and then I'll flip to maybe something in maybe space or whatever takes my fancy. That kind of thing. And that's interesting. I think a lot of people either have a particular area they want to be sort of connected with. I'm assuming all the forces guys, they build lots of AFVs, lots of armor for obvious reasons. I think Wayne, you're really, really sort of, if it's sci-fi and fantasy, that's absolutely your bag. But I think it's horses for courses. I always say, well, don't look at the hobby, look at you and decide what you want to do. You haven't got to go down a single route, build planes or do aero. It's whatever takes your fancy.
What do you think about the challenge of bringing a new generation into modelling? I think that's the biggest threats in the whole modelling business at the moment.
I don't think there's
I can see that through my demographics on my channel, that most of the people that watch me are over 40. And you see it at conventions as well.
Yeah, but you've got to remember the younger ones, they've got busier lives. Much busier lives than us. I mean, we're set, we've got our houses, you know what I mean? We're reasonably financially secure. We come from a background where hobby time and recreational time was a thing. Most of the younger people, they're working crazy hours. I mentor a few people. In the arts, some of the young people I've met. My studios are within the artistic community of Stoke. So I have a lot to do with the arts in Stoke, and I mentor a couple of young girls. And I started when they started their foundation years. 18. They're 24 now, and trying to get an hour mentoring session with them because the double shifts they've got to do. Because they're studying and that sort of stuff and. Everything they've got going on, is ridiculous. To be perfectly honest, I don't think younger people have the time to hobby like we do. Yeah, and that's
why
we're not seeing.
Do you think it'll morph into something different? Because I always look at it from the business perspective. If the hobby was dropping off and dying, then the big manufacturers would curtail their catalogs, and the catalogs aren't getting any smaller; they're getting bigger. In effect, they're making more of this stuff. So clearly, there's a marketplace.
I mean, what you've got to remember is that, I mean, you're coming from a scale model perspective. I'm coming from a war game perspective. But if you look at board games, the board game industry has absolutely exploded. So with regards to hobby, and I regularly go to, in my town, we've got, Stoke is a relatively small city in UK terms. I think our population is about 300,000. I mean, I figured out, the population of my city is less than my online subscriber following from all my social media.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was pointed out to me by the local authority, because I actually work on a local authority site, and they promote that Stoke's quite famous within the creative industries because of the pottery industry. You know what I mean? And I actually work on the Spodworks site, which is actually one of the old pottery sites.
Gotcha.
So it went bankrupt, so it's owned by the local authority now. So I deal with them all.
Right.
But we've got 3 gaming cafes, just in the city centre, alone. And I go to 2 of them regularly, and they're always full. So people are doing hobby. They are gaming. They're not war gaming, and they're not scale model making, but war gaming and I do see model painting and MDF kits. So they are doing it, but by far they are spending their time playing board games. And I think what it is they've grown up as kids playing online games together, and they've had enough of online games, and now they can have a beer, because they always do in these places. When I see them, the girls have always got some cocktails. The lads are always having a craft beer or something like that, and they're sitting and they are playing games and they're communing. So I think, with regards to our demographics, all those young ones, we're wondering, like, well, where are those hobbyists who are interested in sci-fi and gaming and all this sort of stuff? They're on the board game channels.
Wow.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It is.
And the old ones aren't.
Yeah,
they're all, and that's where, so we are here. We're all broadly under this game of gaming with models, whether it's little plastic ones that come out of the board game box that you like to move around, or whether you like to make scale models, or whether you like to make landscapes for those models of either side to be put on, whether as a diorama or as a war game. We are all involved in play and modeling and small scale. And we're all doing our own little things in our own little world. Wow. You know what I mean? It's just there's more of a crossover between our worlds than there is with board gaming. But when I talk to the lads at, on tabletop, or the guys over at Fantasy Flight Games who do crossover, the board game side is huge.
Wow.
If anything, wargaming is the poor child of scale model making and board gaming.
Well, it seems to me that if what happens then, of course, is you kick off with that kind of environment, and then they kind of segue into allied fields. They go, what else is there? And then suddenly, scale modeling rears its head, part working rears its head. Although it's amazing that the screen generation is doing that kind of activity. You think board gaming for the screen generation? No, surely not. Well, absolutely.
No.
And it's the social side. That's what it's all about. Yeah,
it is, and it's a kickback, and I think that's quite often. We all do kickbacks. I mean, most of us ended up in our toys because we kicked back from society saying you shouldn't play with toys when you grow up, and we're like, get stuff. You know what I mean? I'm having my toys, and the older you get, the prouder you get, and the more like resilient and long tooth you get. Like, bugger off, I'm doing my toys, and then you accept yourself.
Yeah,
I think the young uns are just in their board games, and I also think it works for them because it's simple. They can get together. War games is incredibly complicated, even the simple ones. I play What a Cowboy, and I'm having to build a cowboy town to go with it, as well as painting cowboy girls and all this sort of stuff. I'm having to do all that. Whereas a board game, when me and Willow go play board games, we can just grab one off the shelf, slap it down, We can play Zombicide or something like that.
Yeah.
We can have a great laugh. When we played it at one that was Unicorn Fever, racing unicorns. We had a laugh, but it was simple and it's easy, and I think it suits their complicated lives. I think when they have room, of their own, because most of them don't even have their own houses. So how can they have their own hobby space when they're still sort of like at home, and quite often they've moved their partner in with them so they can be together. The two girls that I mentor, both of them live with their boyfriends in their boyfriends' parents' houses because there's one of them's struggling to get on and trying to find, but just trying to secure a property. There's that many applications per tenancy. That the chances are, they can earn the money to pay a tenancy. But there's just too many people applying for them. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that's very gratifying for later on as they get older. They will hopefully expand into to different kinds of hobby.
But
maybe it's a case
they
of
don't have the space for scale model making.
Yeah, because later on they kind of will. So maybe that's how the hobby I guess survives, because later on they maybe come back to it later. They have the space, they have the money to.
You say the hobby survives, but the hobby's not dying. Do you know what I mean? I built the Terrain Tutor because I was scared that, the old modeling techniques are, going to die away. Look how many terrain channels there are now, and they've all got more subs than me. Admittedly, okay. I skipped out on the COVID boost because so that's understandable. If I'd been around,
Sure.
3D printing. I mean, when it comes to miniatures, we've never had so many damn miniatures because people are sculpting them 3D at home. I've got this beautiful one. Yeah. She's a knife-throwing Wild West lady, printed up on a resin printer. You used to have to go through, boxes and find characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's exploding. Terrain's exploding.
Indeed.
Airfix is claiming that they're having a great time. Board game industry is exploding. I honestly don't see how hobby is dying. I see it as evolving.
That's a very good way to put it. Well, we've come to our time, unfortunately, Mel. We could probably carry on for a few hours.
Oh, we could, couldn't we? But
we absolutely could, but we don't want to do a sort of 4-hour podcast. That's not our thing. So I'd really just to close with, I guess what's next? What can we expect from Mel in the future? You've already alluded to how you want the channel to sort of evolve.
My next thing is I'm just going to carry on beating my drum. Simple as, I've got terrain to build, but in general, I'm just going to start slowly sort of slide in a little bit more mental health. Just little things to help people, as I learn, you know what I mean? And then I don't know. I've said I'll give it a year, see where I am in a year, then I'll make some plans in a year. But for the next year, all I'm going to do is do what I do, which is make terrain, have a laugh, and hopefully get through.
Well, we've come to the end of yet another episode. The time's really flown by, as it usually does. Many thanks for joining us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to make sure you never miss an episode. And do get in touch with any burning questions or queries you may have. Tell us what you'd love to see in a future episode. Now, speaking of future episodes, our next one has a special guest, and this time it's none other than Dale Luckhurst, the head of brand for Airfix at Hornby Hobbies. Until the next time, it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from Wayne.
Take care, everybody.
Welcome to the Scale Model World Podcast.